Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and today's guest is a dear friend of mine. You guys may remember I've mentioned in a few episodes that I have a women's mastermind with a very few select group of women who are really elevating to the highest versions of themselves, who are focusing on expansion in their minds, business, their life, their heart, their soul's mission and purpose. And I am constantly so inspired and so encouraged by this dear friend of mine. She is such a powerhouse in her own way, and she offers so much to everyone around her, but specifically in our group that we have, she's the one that is always helping us to tune in to our own inner knowing and our own energetic state, and asking us when something feels like there's a lot of resistance. She always helps us to remember what feels true for you, what feels good for you, what feels like flow for you, helping to remind us that we are meant to be in flow. And when we feel that resistance, that maybe we're trying a strategy that really isn't best for us. So what she brings to the space that we're in is just so valuable. And just on a friendship level, it's been so much fun being in San Diego together. We unlocked a core memory just recently. We watched the eclipse together, and I'm just so excited to bring you guys today's guest, who is Melissa Jane. She is a women's health and energetics coach. She helps you reprogram your brain and get your energy right. She has her coaching business, which is Alignment Athletics. She's a co-founder also with Lexi DeYoung, who we always give our love and memory and respects to, and so much love. And she's here today to show us how to be a main character in our own lives. So, Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for such a wonderful intro. I love you, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, okay. I love the fact that you are so into energetics type of work, especially because of your background and where you come from, because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're very naturally right-brained, like logical, analytical, right? And sometimes that kind of brain and thinking is not always so open to something like energetic work. So, and something that maybe a lot of people don't know is that you actually went to law school.
Yeah.
You're actually a lawyer.
Casual.
Yeah, it's like not a small deal. You know, you're not just this girl that got into like energetic work. You really have been fully and wholeheartedly going after your true soul's mission and been dedicated to everything that you do. Like, it takes a certain kind of person to go through law school, and I don't even know the half of it. So share with us a little bit about how you went from law school to coaching to now energetics coaching. What has that transition and evolution looked like for you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess now is the time to like tell the full story.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll like abridge it a little bit, but obviously, yes, you're correct. I'm a very logical person. I've obviously evolved over time. Mm-hmm. And I went to law school because I thought it was the right path. You know, it's very prestigious. Mm-hmm. They tell you you're going to be really successful and don't worry about your student loans because you're just going to make a lot of money anyway.
Yeah.
And so that was all that my little programmed logical brain needed to hear, because I was the straight A student. I was the high achiever. I was the perfectionist, like all of the above. I'm sure like a lot of listeners can resonate. Mm-hmm. And so I was this was before I started law school. I visited California for the first time.
Okay.
And it was actually LA. And I just felt something inside me awaken. And I'd always been drawn to California, even though I had never been there. So once I set foot here, I knew that I wanted to move here. And that was the background of my thoughts forever after that. So that was right before I started law school. And I just thought the whole time I'll move after law school because I'm locked in here. Like I planned to take the California bar exam and just make it happen however I could. Mm-hmm. So then we go to law school. It is quite stressful.
I can imagine.
To put it lightly. Like you just feel like you're barely treading water all day, every day. And then it starts over the next morning.
Oh my goodness. Is it not as fun as that Netflix show, How to Get Away with Murder? Is that what it's called?
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it?
Maybe of Suits.
No. Oh my gosh. There's this Netflix show. I'm pretty sure it's called How to Get Away with Murder.
Okay.
And it's with this main character, Annalise, and she's like the teacher of this school. Oh my gosh. You would love it if you haven't seen it.
I am not well versed in a lot of TV shows.
Yeah.
I will have to check it out. So no, it's not fun. It's not fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, I met incredible people. I had really cool experiences. Like, I got to study abroad in China. I got to go to
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got to go to the Supreme Court there. Like,
That's
actually
cool.
sit on the panel, watch a trial. I competed in the mock trial team where we like traveled around the US, got to try our case in the courthouse that the Rosa Parks case was tried in.
Wow.
Like, so much history.
Wow.
I made amazing friends. I got to work in the U.S. Attorney's Office in narcotics and violent crime.
That's so
like
cool.
Crazy stuff that you definitely wouldn't be able to do unless you were in that role. And I know it sounds cliche, but I really don't regret it because, oh my gosh, like, it got me to where I am now. But I met really great people. So anyway, about halfway through law school, I can't stop thinking about California. And this is when fitness Instagram was starting to come up, like fitness YouTube, all that. Yes. I'm like, this is when I found Emily. And I did not have any desire to like be an entrepreneur, but I just wanted to like be friends with everybody who was there. I wanted, the good old days. And so then I started learning about how I hired my own fitness coach, and I realized, whoa, like, these people actually do pretty well for themselves. And I was like, well, that's not the path for me. I kept ignoring it because I was on the right path to be successful and make a lot of money and, fill in the blanks. Well, I ignored this feeling for so long that I'm in my final semester of law school, and I just start feeling weird. I'm having all these weird symptoms of like elevated heart rate, very shallow breathing. I also felt like I had a cold or a flu situation that wasn't going away. So long story short, I end up in the urgent care waiting room with a full-on panic attack, not knowing what's happening. Wow. Because I've never had anxiety. And I just thought, this is it. Like, I didn't even call my parents because I did not want their last memory of me to be me, like, panicking.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That must have been so scary.
That's probably the scariest thing I've ever been through.
Wow.
So the providers there can't find anything wrong, figure out it's anxiety. And very quickly I realized, okay, I have to change something. I don't know what in this moment because it was just so crazy, but I refused the medication just because that was my choice at the time. And I knew that I had the strength to like get through it. I just didn't know what the heck was going to happen. So a couple weeks after that, I had like a mentee and we were getting coffee, and she was the cutest. She was actually a non-traditional student. So she was older than me, but she was my mentee.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, she's so sweet. We still talk to this day. And the words just like fell out of my mouth. And I told her, I don't think I want to take the bar exam.
Oh, wow.
And like immediately I was like, oh my gosh. Like, higher self just was like, you're not listening. Like, here's what needs to happen. And her name's Gina. And she was like, that's okay. And she was the first person who I said that to, obviously. And I just wanted to feel safe because I was putting so much pressure on myself. And I know everybody had these expectations of me, namely like professors and the attorneys at the firm I worked for. And then of course myself. And as soon as I said that, that lifted a weight for the first time in like months.
Wow.
Where I was like, dang, okay, that feels good. I think I should probably lean into it. So eventually I make the decision. I tell my dad, who's like super supportive. My family, thank goodness, was so, so great. And I know not everybody has that privilege, but I'm also the kind of person where if I get an idea and it's like aligned with my soul, I'm doing it. Like nothing is stopping me besides myself for a little bit.
Yeah, very on brand.
Yeah. So I went ahead and graduated. That was December 2018. And then at that point I had already launched like a group coaching program. So I had my toes in the water of coaching. I had some clients. And then right after I graduated, I was like, okay, it's on, like full time. We got to make this work. And I was able to, I launched a group coaching program, which made me the exact amount of money that I needed to save to move to California.
Isn't it crazy how that happens?
Yeah, that was my first experience with very specific manifesting. It's like, oh, I need to have a 5K launch. And then it happened. And I was like, okay, new level unlocked. This stuff is insane. So I moved to San Diego in March of 2019. And I remember emailing Lexi saying, like, I will work at coffee shops, like as a barista if I need to. Like, I just got to get out of here. And Lexi was always so supportive. She's like, you could sleep on my couch if you have to.
Oh my goodness.
So I moved out here. We moved in together. I had my own business for a year. And by the way, it just worked out because I was committed and I had my energy where it needed to be, where I got enough clients. I was making full-time income. And then March 2020, Lexi and I merged our coaching businesses into what we have now, which is Alignment Athletics. And the rest is history.
Wow. What an incredible story of your higher self coming through and guiding you to your next step. And I love that when you finally just spit it out and said what that deep truth was, that it actually gave you a relief. And I feel like that's what happens when we allow ourselves to speak our deepest truth, is we get that sense of relief. And when we feel that, like you said, that's the time to lean in and to go all in on what that deepest truth is. So what a beautiful journey to share with us. And I just love how that was like the first steps in you recognizing that you really are not alone in this world, right? That there's this higher divine intelligence that is always at work, however you want to see it, your higher divine self, the divine source, right? It's like we are not here alone. We actually have assistance. We have help. And if we can tune into the messages that are coming through for us, then we'll get empowered enough to know what the next step is. And I don't know about you, but I still haven't gotten a game plan for the rest of my life. It only comes step by step. So, okay. So
I want to add a note on that.
Oh, okay.
Can I add a note?
Please.
So I'm not someone who grew up like in the church or like into any like religion or spirituality. I mean, my extended family like kind of was religious. It was just very much like a take it or leave it thing. And I'm so grateful for that because I was able to discover what made sense to me. And I think what needs to happen for people to find their faith container is you unfortunately have to be so broken where you are down on your knees and you feel alone and you're literally just praying to anything like, please help me. And then, you know, whatever happens in your situation. And that is when you realize, okay, I'm actually never alone.
Yeah, that's so good. It reminded me of a moment when I was in that position, right? Like on my knees crying, saying, please help me. And you know what's wild? You know what actually helped me? The phrase, no one is coming to save you.
Yeah.
And the phrase like popped in my head, right? So here I am crying out, like hoping that like something comes and saves me from this pain and suffering and whatever. And instead it was just this thought, no one is coming to save you. I was like, all right, well, then I guess I got to do it.
That's what you needed.
And it's what I needed. And I was able to really like come back from such a difficult place. And every little step along the way, when I look back, and even as I was experiencing it, it was undeniably divine, what was being orchestrated in my life. And I had to show up and I had to do my part. And I feel like that goes into kind of segueing into manifestation, right? I think sometimes people are maybe off-put by manifestation because of a false perception of what they think that it is. They think that it's maybe just sitting around praying and hoping for something to happen and not having any action. And I know that you speak a lot about manifestation and you speak a lot about the lies or deception or, you know, the misconceptions, I guess you'd say, about manifestation out there. So what are some of those misconceptions and what light can you shed in those areas? Yeah,
totally. So I think the starting point that I always like to illuminate is, you know, how many times have you heard, just work really hard and you'll get what you want?
Yeah.
Just hustle, just grind. Like, you know, get up at 3 a.m. and do all the things and that's how you get what you want. Okay. Listen, obviously we live in a physical world, so we have to take action to make things happen. Like that would be so silly if I sat here and told you, just go visualize on your couch for 4 hours every day and you'll get what you want. Like that would be silly.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where the misconception or maybe kind of like a connotation around manifestation comes from because it has been mainstreamed of like, no, you have to visualize, you have to get your energy right. And it's only one part of the equation and it would be ridiculous to expect the results by only doing one part. So you have the physical side, and the universal law for that is the law of action. So just taking action, making it happen, right? The other side is energetic. And this is the side that we just haven't been taught about. We haven't been taught about energetics or intuition and how these things work. And so the universal law that I like to apply within the energetic side is the law of attraction.
You're so cute because you're such a lawyer about this. I love this so much.
My soul journey has a purpose.
Yes.
Went through 2.5 years of hell for a reason.
I love this. Okay, continue.
It helps me articulate.
Yes.
So with the law of attraction, I'm sure a lot of you watching or listening are probably familiar, but if you're not, we can take it back to science class and just remember, like, everything in the world is made up of these particles that are vibrating, and everything vibrates at different frequencies. So with the law of attraction, that just means that like attracts like. So people, places, objects, situations, circumstances that are vibrating on the same frequency, they will attract. I mean, that's why Emily and I
was just going to say.
So that is how the energetic side works. Now, obviously, we're kind of picturing like a nice little Venn diagram here. In the middle would be manifestation, where you combine the physical and the energetic. There's another piece, though. And that piece is neuroscience, which is just a fancy word for brain science and how our thoughts work to become our reality. And just for like the simplest way to put it with neuroscience and how your thoughts, again, scientifically become your reality is we've got these belief systems, right? And then that leads to our thoughts, which then are dropping down into our what is called electromagnetic field. Another way to remember it is your creator field. Learned that from my mentor, so I can't take credit.
Love that.
But those thoughts are dropping down into your creator field, and you're broadcasting them out into your reality and into the world and the universe. And the universe is always responding to whatever you're broadcasting. So if you're noticing patterns in your life that you don't love and you want to get rid of, it's going to require you to shift your thoughts and beliefs, which we're going to use neuroscience tools to do. That's kind of how it all wraps together.
So good. So what about if people are unaware of the beliefs that are broadcasting a certain frequency? How can they start to do some inner work to become aware of those unconscious thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is the work that people skip because it just seems too simple, or it seems so simple that it doesn't matter.
Right.
And again, that's where people go wrong with the manifesting. They skip the work that like is crucial. I always recommend just getting quiet with yourself. I'm sure you're right on board. And just seeing what comes up for you. Because whatever you need to hear will come through, whether it's from your subconscious mind and or that kind of goes hand in hand with other things that can come through, like your higher self or source or spirit guides. Like literally trust. When you get quiet, what comes up is what you need to hear. And a lot of people avoid this because it's uncomfortable. I get it. The first time I did this exercise, I was supposed to do it for an hour.
An hour? Your first time?
My first ever
That's kind of a lot.
Personal development homework thrown into the fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do it in the shower because I couldn't have any distractions. Like no phones, no nothing, right? Okay. I did not make it very long and I was just physically unwell. I was like, I'm going to get out of here now.
Yeah. Aww.
So it is uncomfortable, but there's so much freedom on the other side. Because once you do have the awareness around like, what are you unhappy with in your life? What is like bothering you? Like you talked about at the beginning, what do you feel resistance around? These things need to be examined.
So what about for somebody that is, again, they're noticing that they're broadcasting this frequency and they sit down, they get quiet and nothing appears? You know, because I feel like this mindfulness is definitely a skill. So do you have any embodiment type of practices, whether it be like physical movement or some sort of like, I don't know, breath work? What are your go-to practices to get out of the mind and into the body?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a big fan of breath work, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like, You do not have to jump straight up to Wim Hof breath work, which if you know, you know, but he's like the daddy of modern breath work.
Daddy of breath work.
And it's quite intense. But once you do it, it's like incredible. You can literally just start. I tell my clients, I don't care if you just lay on your bed and stare at the ceiling for 5 minutes and just take belly breaths, because that is the quickest and cheapest, because you already know how to breathe, right? Way to calm your nervous system down. And if nothing's showing up for you, it's probably because your nervous system is just a little jacked up, like elevated. Maybe you're really stressed, and those thoughts and that guidance cannot get through a very dysregulated nervous system.
So good. I'll share a personal experience to this. So obviously I've done a lot of work on myself. I've worked with a lot of mentors and healers, and I do it for my business as well. So I feel like I really have the tools. And even I like sat down the other day with this question, and I asked, what's in the background? Because, you know, my life's been very dynamic. I have a lot of things on my plate right now. So I'm moving from thing to thing. And so I asked the question, okay, but what's happening in the background? And consciously I sat with that, and I was like, yeah, I don't think there is anything, you know? And I knew better. So I was like, okay, let me try my embodiment practices and then come back to this question. So I put myself through a yoga session, which I love, to just notice where there's tension in the body and then to release and breathe into that area. And I feel like that release, that relaxation, it just softens my body and regulates the nervous system. And then afterwards, I just did some simple breath work, nothing crazy, and a small meditation. And it was at the end of the meditation that I was in like the deepest place of stillness and presence. And in that moment, a thought came up, and I said, oh no, I don't want to think about that. And immediately I recognized, oh, this is happening for me. This thought is for me. And so then I opened my mind and I said, okay, any other thoughts that want to come through or memories, you can come through now. And boom, 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 boom. And it showed me a major thing that was happening in the background that I just had no idea about. Consciously, I would have never chosen that was in the background. And so for me, it was helpful to do those embodiment practices to get to what was in the background. It was wild.
Dude, that's such a good point and such a testament to how the subconscious will hide things from you.
Yes.
Very, very well. But that's why we learn these practices, to kind of unlock and get in there. And sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes something might not even happen in a session.
Yeah.
And you might still think, oh, okay, there's nothing. But trust, it will come through in perfect timing.
How have you seen messages come through for you?
Oh my gosh.
Like those divine messages or synchronicities. What does that look like for you?
Oh man. Okay.
It's so hard.
You ready? My whole life, I've been a very vivid dreamer.
Oh, okay. I know this.
Like 95% of the nights I've been asleep, I have dreamed. And sometimes they seem insignificant. If you guys are familiar with like clairvoyance, like that happens to me a lot, where I'll dream something or I'll have a vision and it comes true, but I don't have a harness on it. So it's like sometimes I'll dream some crazy stuff and I'm like, oh no, like, is that going to happen? Is that a premonition? So anyways, oftentimes it's visions for me because I am mostly clairvoyant, but this happened Monday.
We were together.
Yeah, I will wake up with a song stuck in my head.
That's right.
So Monday, I woke up with Hakuna Matata stuck in my head.
Hakuna Matata.
And we had to sing it in the car, obviously. And that day, I was hosting a masterclass, which I've never done before. And I was excited about it, but I think my spirit guides were like, we got to fully remove the pressure. The first thing I thought that day, like, opened my eyes and Hakuna Matata was just in my head.
That is so cute.
Yeah. So sometimes it'll be like, I'll just wake up with a thought or a song. And speaking of music, Spotify, like shuffle is another extreme way that like my spirit guides communicate with me. Like the titles of the songs, the lyrics, they will send them exactly when I need them. Or they'll send me songs that, like, for example, like I know that Lexi and I used to listen to, or it's a song that she would really love, and it'll be like multiple in a row. So I just know she's coming through. Yeah. So a lot of different ways.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Do you mind if we talk about the business and Lexi for a minute?
No, we can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So It's going to make me cry. You went through a major transition this last year in losing one of your best friends and your business partners, Lexi. So can you share with us a little bit about how you navigated such a loss? I think that is such a deep loss to go through. And look at you, like you're so beautiful and you're shining and you have so much energy. You're living life. You're doing something you're so passionate about. You're helping others. You still feel connected to her. So I feel like it's just such a valuable thing that we could talk about is your experience of navigating this and even your view on loss and just anything that you want to share, because I think a lot of people go through this and it's really encouraging to see you go through it in such a beautiful way. So yeah, anything you want to share on that?
Well, thank you for opening this up. And before I even start, like, it's interesting to hear someone else's perception because apparently it looks like I handled this in a beautiful way. But like, as I speak on this, I still don't even feel qualified to give advice. Like, I'm obviously just sharing my experience and what I have done and what has happened. And there have definitely been plenty of times and plenty of nights where it's not pretty, you know, and
totally.
I mean, they haven't happened in a while, but they will happen again. Like, it's just grief is an up and down. And I had never lost anyone like really close to me before Lexi.
Wow.
And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So Lexi left. You guys will find that I use certain language around it because I do not like specific words around that whole situation. So Lexi left. And then this is a side note, but 8 days later, my grandma left. And obviously both of these were just like so unexpected. And last summer was just like a blur for me. And to be completely honest, I still, like, I'm nowhere near acceptance. Like, I just don't feel like it's real. Our tax people asked me for some specific paperwork around Lexi this week. And I was like, this is a joke. Why did you even type that? Like, what are we doing here? So that's where I'm at currently. I mean, for the most part, like I'm operating, I'm doing well. I think I have handled everything in a healthy way, especially for it being like the first time I've ever had to deal with grief. And if I ever felt like I was going into a negative place or spiraling, I would definitely ask for help. I thankfully have had a really big toolbox or like toolkit to navigate this so far.
Yeah. What are those things that helped? And maybe what are some things that did not help?
Yeah. I think it's going to depend on the person, but I didn't love talking about it. And like, people know not to like ask me when we're just hanging out. Like, you don't just bring something like that up. I have incredible friends and an incredible support system who has just been there, whether I wanted to talk about it or not. And so that kind of helps you adjust to like, okay, some things in life are going to go on, which is such a weird phenomenon because you don't want them to. But then you're like, well, why am I in a hurry to get further away from this person, essentially? So anyways, as far as what did help, I think just like expecting the unexpected, or just kind of like letting go of the expectations, because grief and emotions are so unpredictable because it literally just turns your world upside down. So you're in shock. You're going to go through all the stages of grief, and then you're going to jump back and jump around and all up and down. So I just promised myself that when the feelings came up, I would let them out. Like, I would cry. Now, did I stick to that? Not 100%, because oftentimes you're in a public place and it's like, am I going to like full on break down and be like wheezing in the cereal aisle? Like, no. But there were several times where I would either get myself to a place that I was alone or I was just home alone. And again, it was just not pretty, but you have to let it out. Like, we're talking like ugly crying, can't breathe, like sobbing, shaking, completely alone. Well, thank goodness I have Sir Archibald. He's
kitty cat.
Yeah, animal therapy is real.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there were times where I'd be typing a caption and it would come up, or I would have like a business task to do and it would come up. But there were other times too where you're just living life, and like, I went to a wedding last summer and the bride's best friend starts giving a speech and I was like, I'm out. I am not okay.
Oh, wow.
Like, cause you know, it'll just bring things up, and it's unexpected. So I tried my best to always let that come out, and I'm going to continue to do that moving forward. And at the same time, I know, like, I'm so connected to Lexi, even still, like, obviously, that she, like, I know what she would be telling me to do and what she would be wanting me to do. And I'm not going to just, like, let our baby, our business, just, like, dissolve into the ether because I'm so grief stricken. And if that happens to you, there's nothing wrong with that. But in Lexi and I's dynamic, that's just not how we would operate. Like, if the roles were reversed, she'd be crushing it right now. Like, plain and simple.
For sure.
So yeah, I just, like, did my best to carry on with obviously taking care of the clients initially, getting everything taken care of there. And then there's just been, like, a lot of change within the business, which was so hard for me personally because I was writing a story that's not true. And, you know, we've worked through that, but I feel really good. Obviously, I miss her and think about her every single day. And I know also, like, I'm making her proud.
Yeah, so. 100%. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing all of that. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing to just feel emotions as they come up, because that's the way that the emotions are, it's energy in motion. So allowing it to move through us and not get stuck within us. So one thing that I love about Alignment Athletics is it is just so true to brands that you are staying in alignment with your deepest truth, even through the evolution of this business. So talk to me a little bit about the evolution from what it was and what it was offering into where you're headed now and the direction that you're going now and what excites you about it. Yeah, just give me a little bit on that.
Yeah. So well, we get to circle back to, like, the little downloaded thoughts because for the name of Alignment Athletics, that actually came to me on a plane. And at the time, I had no idea what it was going to be. I just knew it was going to be big. So I typed it in a note in my phone. This was like August 2019, tucked it away. And then a few months later, we talked about merging. And I was like, I have the name.
Yeah.
So I named it that. Well, one, because it just came into my brain.
Yeah.
But two, because I want it to be, like, we always wanted it to be a hub for all different, like, modalities and realms of health and wellness and living in alignment. And for the most part, we just focused on nutrition and training. Like, we had some specialists on staff here and there that could do blood work and GI maps, gut health stuff, just to, like, really focus on the fitness portion of things. And I was definitely always the one who was the most interested in mindset. And then as I got further into my own certifications with, like, Reiki and NLP and all the energetic stuff, that's what really lit me up. And that's not to say that I don't love fitness coaching, because I feel the most connected to my clients currently than I ever have, which is so fulfilling. So I still take on just fitness clients for nutrition and training. And I love that. If you're on my roster, you're going to get a sprinkle of mindset here and there. And, you know, some people are more into it than others. I just kind of meet them where they're at. And as far as, like, the evolution and moving forward, we're definitely expanding more into everything we're talking about here with energetics, spirituality, neuroscience, intuition, like everything in those realms. And that is what feels very exciting to me. And it feels really good to me. And I, through a lot of change, am finally in a position where I can just go for it and remove all the pressure from myself.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. And that's the thing is, as we grow and evolve, typically our businesses, as they are extensions of us, also grow and evolve, and change is good. Change is welcoming in the new and next dimension of our lives. So I love to see you just leading with such a grounded presence in your alignment and welcoming all of what's next for you. So you talk a lot about being the main character of your life, main character energy. So talk to me about main character energy, and how can the audience and the viewers, how can they become the main character of their lives?
I love it. Okay. So fun fact, my broadcast channel on Instagram is called Main Character Mastery. So that's where Emily's getting the main character. But I love it. And okay, so everybody wants to talk about their main character era. Well, it's not an era. Like, it's forever.
Yeah.
Sis. Okay, we're going to remember who the heck you are and remember the power that we all have within ourselves. this has been a frequent topic lately where, source, God, the universe, it cannot go against your free will. It's got its hands tied behind its back, because why would Source want all that power? Source was like, I'm going to give this to you guys, which is incredible, because as humans, when we learn about this power and we reclaim it and remember who we are, that's when you get to start calling your shots. That's when you get to start creating what you want, checking boxes, achieving your goals, building your dream life, manifesting all the things, and remembering how incredible every single one of us is simply because we exist. Like, the chances of being in a physical body on Earth right now are less than you winning the lottery. It's like insane when you wake up to that.
Yeah, that's wild. And I always look back at the fact that we all have our own thumbprint.
Yeah.
And not even identical twins have the same thumbprint. Isn't that wild?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything is just, I'm sure we could get into like nature and everything too, but it's just so vast. And so, kind of circling back to your question about what are some action steps you can take to become the main character of your life. Well, if we're talking just logistics, think about setting boundaries. Like, we had a conversation about this a couple days ago. If there's someone or something in your life that you're feeling resistance around, or they're kind of like leeching your energy, there's just some friction there, look into that. And again, logistically, set a boundary if you need to. You cannot care what they say, because this is about you, not in a selfish way. It's actually quite selfless to take care of yourself, so then you can show up for others better. But set a boundary if you need to. Some people will fade out of your life. Some people will grow with you. Like, that's all being orchestrated perfectly. It's not your job to handle all of that. Your job is to remember who you are and protect your energy. And then outside of the very like 3D logistic things, this work is what we're talking about. Just get into, even if you just read like a little personal development book to start, you're already listening to this podcast, which is a great place to start. And once you start combining all these tools, you are literally going to change your life.
I love how you said that. And just a reminder to the listeners, make sure that you are applying the tools that you listen to and learn about, because we can consume content all day long, but if we're not actually applying it to our lives in the form of tools and action steps, then it's not really taking root in our lives. And we're just sitting here consuming things for the purpose of feeling productive, which we don't want to do. So I even encourage, maybe even consider consuming a little bit less. Instead of listening to another podcast, create time in your schedule to create some action steps and ask yourself, how could I apply this to my own life? What's one thing that I could go and do, a conversation I could have, a boundary that I put in place, or, some new strategy that I put into my business, whatever it looks like. So what are some books maybe that you would recommend? I know there's a million. So just whatever comes to mind. It could be personal development. It could be fiction. It could be spiritual. Any books that come to mind in this moment.
Okay. So this is a good question, because I actually get this a lot from clients. Like, where do I start? And I always have like 2 to 3 recommendations. If you are brand new to all of this and you want a nice, easy on-ramp into this work, Gabrielle Bernstein, she has really great like books and everything. I can't remember. Oh, it's called The Universe Has Your Back. That is a book by her. That is a wonderful on-ramp.
While we're on her, a second book I want to recommend by her is called Judgment Detox, I believe. Okay. And I don't know why I picked up the book, but I picked it up thinking, I don't have judgment. And I read the book and I was like, whoa, that shit is deep. So I really recommend everyone get it, because it highlighted things to me in ways that I was judging myself or others. And I didn't want to have that within me, but it was there and I needed to look at it and I needed to heal through it. And I'm so glad that I did. I just wouldn't have thought to grab that. I don't know why. I don't remember even how it came into my field.
Your spirit guides put it there.
Probably. And that was just another really good one. I've also read The Universe Has Your Back. Incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. She's got real life stories too that help solidify it for you. So that's the on-ramp. And then I recommend, some of you have probably heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I will not lie, his books are more dense because he basically bridges the gap between science and spirituality. So he's got scientific studies in there, but don't let that scare you, because it's still easy to digest and understand. It's just a lot of information. I recommend starting with breaking the habit of being yourself and then going to becoming supernatural. They have some overlap, but I recommend in that order. They will change your life. They will absolutely change your life. And then you have to execute on what you learn, or else you just go back to the same loops that you were stuck in.
Have you ever been to a Joe Dispenza retreat?
I have not.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of want to too.
Okay.
I've had so many friends recently that have gone. There was one in San Diego recently. It was an advanced level one though, so we couldn't have gone because you have to like go through the first one. But yeah, if you're down, I would love to go to one. Apparently you meditate for like 6 hours a day.
Yeah, it will be the challenge that we need.
And also, just while we're on this topic, I'm always huge about creating aligned community, right? And so doing something like going to an event like that is going to draw a certain group of people in. And so that would be such a great way for us to even meet with other business owners, friendships, you know, potential community.
Yeah.
And I always recommend to people to be intentional about where they choose to spend their time and their money and their efforts. So whether it's going to a retreat or an event, like put yourself in places where you're going to potentially meet aligned community. And I know that you just hosted an event in Bali. So how was that event? How was Bali? What are some takeaways that you have from Bali and even the way that like the people live their lives? Share a little bit about that experience, because you and I have talked about it and it was so, even just a little bit that you shared with me touched my heart so much. I shared it on my stories.
I saw it.
And so I feel like you should share that story with them.
Yeah, it made me happy because we love a ripple effect.
Yes.
So Bali is amazing. Like you must go. I don't care if you are terrified to travel, go. Because there are so many takeaways and I just spent a month there. The people are the most grateful with literally nothing. I mean, Indonesia is like, it's a third world country. The currency exchange rate is like insane. So we can eat there for like $6 to $12 a meal. And you can even find things that are more affordable than that. Like it's very affordable to go there and do all the things.
And the meals, by the way, look like high quality, delicious. They're even aesthetic looking. So we're not talking about like a $6 to $12 sandwich.
No.
We're talking about acai bowls and poke and
they make it with love. Like it takes a while to get your food and it's because they're perfectly just putting in, like they put so much intention into everything they do. And again, they're so grateful. Like you'll go to tip them, which is not common for them. And they will tell you, oh, you already paid. And so it makes my day when it's like, no, that's for you. And they're like, really? And they give you little prayer hands like, thank you so much. And it's literally like $6 US. Like it's just insane to see the opposite, which I'll get into. But we had a lot of drivers and you know, just workers around who were happy to chat with us, explain their culture, answer questions, tell us everything. And we were talking with one of the drivers and he asked us, is it true that everyone in America is busy all the time? Said it just like that. And we were like, oh, yeah, like that's so normal to us. And he was like, why? And so we were just explaining how that's what is seen as successful here and what is seen as necessary is to just always be doing and grinding and hustling and working. And then we got to talking about family and he was explaining that their highest value is family. Like the kids are the most important. They all live together until like the kids get married. And sometimes even then they all stay together. They would never move far away from their families. And we were explaining how in America at 18, like you're ready to get out. You're probably moving far away. It's understood that you are moving out. And so we just realized how opposite everything is. And America could take some lessons, man, because they don't, like they work, you know, but they're like planting a rice terrace for 30 minutes and then they're laying in the shade the rest of the day because it's hot. They did their work. And I mean, they have cell phones and stuff, but they're never like sitting around on their phones. Like our last villa we stayed at, there was a parking lot at the top and there were a handful of guys up there who just waited all day to see if anyone needed a taxi and they would drive them out. So like we'd walk up there and they would say, do you need a taxi? We'd say, no, thank you. And they're like, okay. And just go back to laying down in the shade, like big chillin'.
Wow.
All the time. And they're the happiest people I've ever, full tooth smiles. They say hello to you. They will chat you up. Like, I am doing my best to just hold on to that and really keep it here. There's no road rage there at all.
That's mind blowing.
Like, it's actually,
the traffic's bad.
The traffic is wild. First of all, they're driving on the opposite side of the street. So your brain is already confused. And it just flows. Like, four-way stops, no such thing. It just flows. Scooters on every side.
Wait, are you saying that there's not stop signs?
No.
At the four-way? Like,
no.
There's
it's
not
just an intersection.
Oh my goodness.
Everywhere. And the streets make no sense. They're not like a grid system. It's crazy, but it just works. And if someone honks, it's not like they're mad. They're just saying like, hey, I'm going to keep rolling. So just don't drive in front of me, scooter. And they're just like, it'll be like, okay. And it just works.
Oh my goodness.
And they're all just happy and bumper to bumper. Like, my passenger anxiety the first day was like, oh no. But then you just get like a hard initiation and you realize it works and you're fine.
Thrown into the deep end.
Yeah. I'm driving less than the speed limit in San Diego. I'm just
chilling.
Vibing. I'm like, ooh, why'd you flip them off? Bali could never.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love what you were saying, how they say hi and smile to everyone. Even yesterday, was it yesterday? I think 2 days ago. I went to Lexi's birthday and I was in the elevator and some, man gets in the elevator and, hi, how are you? I was like, I'm doing great. How are you? And we chatted. He said, I'm great. I just got this new racket. And he wasn't originally from America. I didn't ask him where he was from because he got off the elevator too quick. But we just had this amazing interaction. And that wasn't actually like quite normal, I would say. It was like a little more abnormal. And it just reminded me of what you had shared about Bali. And I just thought about that. Like, what if we all greeted other humans like that? Of a friend that we hadn't seen in a long time. Like, oh my goodness, how are you? We just shared the elevator for 10, 20 seconds. And you were so kind and so loving and shared this little fact with me. I just thought it was so cute.
Well, that's another thing I forgot to mention is so Bali is the only island in Indonesia that is Hindu. So they're super spiritual. There's like temples everywhere, but they live by karma. So they just get it.
Yeah.
Like, energetically. Like,
that's awesome.
Put good out, you're going to get good back.
Yeah.
And we were actually there during what's called Nyepi. It's their day of silence. And on that day specifically, no one is working. Everywhere is closed. You can't even be on the streets. And most of them like don't even talk. You can't use your stoves or any electricity. Like, it's very traditional. And in the days leading up to it, they have these ceremonies, and the point of the ceremonies is to cleanse not only themselves of any like bad energy, but also to cleanse and purify the earth of bad energy.
Wow.
I'm like, you guys are doing spiritual community service.
Literally.
And the whole world doesn't even know it. It was really cool to be there. Like, while it was
you
happening.
tell them, Melissa.
We like walked in this parade with them. It was so cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think it's just such a testament to how impactful traveling can be and visiting a different culture, immersing yourself in it and learning from the way that people live. Because it's so easy to get caught up in just this little bubble of how we live our lives, where we're at, how we think. And anytime you do that and you step outside of your perspective, it really expands you in such a beautiful way. Recently, I went to Mexico and I've shared a little bit about that, but it was a trip to build homes for people that needed homes. And when I came home with this like physical, tangible feeling of gratitude that was so deep and so wide. It shifted my entire energy for everything that I've been doing. And it was such a good just reminder and perspective shift that I needed. And I feel like wherever you can get that, a perspective shift is absolutely priceless. Like, it really will change so much for you. And when we talk about energetics and how, our energy truly is everything, it's just something that will elevate your entire energy and frequency. So I've loved today's conversation. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. If people are interested in being a part of your community in some way, what do you have right now that they can be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest place to find me is going to be on Instagram. It's just at @MelissaJane_fit. Hop in the broadcast channel because that's where I'm dropping most of these nuggets.
I'm in it
now. Yeah, I'd love that. I see your little hearts on my stuff.
Yeah, you do see it?
Yeah. I love the broadcast channel just because it's like an extra close community and they're getting like exclusive little golden nuggets. As of the time we're recording this, I'm launching something, but I think it'll probably be rolling by the time the episode comes out. But if you're in the broadcast channel, you will get sneak peeks and exclusive info into what is coming next because it's going to be big.
So awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of Evolve with Emily. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please do us a favor and tag us on your Instagram stories. Let us know what your takeaway was. Rate and review the show wherever you listen to the show. Leave a comment. Say what's up. We'd love to hear from you. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.